going to get started. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to today's collaborative mentoring webinar series. Thank you for joining us. Today, we'll be talking about youth engaged, heard, and empowered. So excited to hear more from our panelists about some youth engagement strategies and ways we can really support youth in making sure that their voices are heard. My name is Minnie Chen from Mentor National, and I'm excited to kind of kick us off. So just some housekeeping information, as usual. All attendees have been muted for best sound. However, we want this to be a participatory experience, so please use the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions you have for your panelists throughout the webinar. There are also live captions available if you just click on the CC live transcript at the bottom of your screen as well. Again, I will be queuing up questions for our Q&A portion near the end of the webinar around 2 p.m. Eastern. And then if you want to introduce yourselves or have any comments today, feel free to use the chat. Again, for all participants to see your message, change to all panelists and attendees in the chat. And so to get a sense of who is with us today, we have two short polls. So our first poll is, what is your experience level in the mentoring field? So are you a beginner with a couple 1 to 2 years experience, new to the mentoring, are you experienced, or an expert? You've been here in the field for 8+ years, 10+ years. Love to hear kind of who we have here. Okay, great. So I'm going to share the results. So it looks like 59% of you all here are experienced, with 29% beginner and 12% experts. So glad to have you here. And then for our second poll, it is, what is your role in the mentoring field, or what best describes your role in the mentoring field? As we know, you probably serve multiple of these roles, but are you a mentoring program staff and practitioner? If so, feel free to type in the chat kind of what program you're from. Are you a mentor? Are you an educator, technical assistance provider, researcher, funder, or other? Again, if you're other as well, we'd love to hear from you about kind of you and your role and kind of how you've been connected to mentoring. Thanks so much for everyone participating. Great. I'm going to share results. As kind of usual for the webinar series, 75% of you all are mentoring program staff and practitioners. We have some mentors and educators, a couple technical assistance providers, and researchers, as well as the other. Again, thank you all so much for joining. We hope the information on today's call is applicable to all of you in the work that you do. Again, 1 week after today's webinar, all attendees will receive an email with instructions on how to access the PDF of the presentation slides, along with the link to the webinar recording. You can also find all of this on the Collaborative Mentoring Webinar Series webpage, where we post all the slides, recordings, and resources for all of our webinars. So you can feel free to check out our past webinars as well. And we also want to hear from you and your feedback that you have about today's webinar. So please help us out by answering a short survey that pops up at the end of the webinar or when you exit. So now I'm going to get us started with today's webinar and turn it over to our facilitator for today, David Martis from our Mentor Michigan affiliate. So welcome, David, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Minnie. Hello, everybody. Just wanted to mention today's webinar. Just today, we'll be hearing from individuals from 3 top-notch youth-serving organizations in Michigan. They utilize creative methods of empowering youth by getting them engaged and making sure that their voices are heard. So yeah, just fantastic presenters representing powerful youth-serving mentoring organizations in Michigan. So yeah, let's get started. Yeah, well, there's me. I just 20+ years of leadership experience. Yeah, nobody wants to hear about that, but I've just been involved with this mission of making certain youth just have somebody in their life that they can trust, love, and that returns that trust and love and respect, returns that back to them. So the last portion of that, just Dave believes in order for youth to completely be engaged, they need someone in their life that loves them, respects them, and has their best interest at heart. I think that's so important. So throughout our presentation today for the next hour, that's the theme. And I think the individuals that we have involved with this certainly encapsulate that very idea. So yeah, looking forward to this. So just real quickly, if you could kind of go to the next slide, great. Mentor Michigan, we're part of the Michigan Community Service Commission, which is unique. Of all the Mentor affiliates, we're one of only a few that's embedded in state government. And essentially 4 layers of the MCSC. There's Volunteer Michigan. We're the lead organization for volunteerism in the state. AmeriCorps as well. AmeriCorps programming runs through our office. We also respond to disasters and emergencies. Been heavily involved with COVID-19 response. We're heavily involved with the Flint water crisis as well. And then of course, Mentor Michigan, supporting mentoring and youth development programs. So next slide, please. Youth engagement through volunteerism. That's something that I just wanted to touch on real briefly, is just mentioning that aspect of youth engagement. Each year through national service, we provide funding to youth serving organizations for national days of national service. And just the response from that and just the involvement of youth is incredible. Organizations submit grant requests to us, and we make certain that the requests that come in have a youth voice, that the ideas are coming from youth. And then when we're reviewing the ideas as well, we also have youth that are looking through these to make certain that the plans are solid. So that's something. We have incredible panelists today, but I was just thinking from my own perspective, I wanted to mention that. So youth engagement through volunteerism is incredibly important, especially the work we do through Mentor Michigan and through the Michigan Community Service Commission. So, okay, next slide, please. All right, this is Beth OConnor. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have great panelists. Beth is Vice President of Program Operations for Detroit Big Brothers Big Sisters. She's incredibly passionate about serving youth, families, and the community in the Metro Detroit area. Beth has worked in nonprofits through her career in a variety of capacities. Her strengths include program and grant management, relationship and partnership development, youth development and mentoring, social justice, and DEI. She believes in order to realize the full potential of our youth and families, we need to identify and utilize the untapped resources of others. Connections are a necessity for all. So couldn't be happier to have Beth joining us today. So thank you kindly, Beth. We'll hear from you in just a moment. Kira is a fantastic individual as well. We have a Youth and VISTA initiative through the Michigan Community Service Commission. Our VISTAs are spending time in youth serving and mentoring organizations to help organizations build capacity. Kira is a program participant in that. She's a Youth Impact VISTA, currently serving at our partnering organization, Detroit PAL. Additionally, Kira is a sports psychology graduate student and past participant in Detroit PAL youth programs. So this is fantastic. She's coming full circle and spent time at Detroit PAL as a participant of youth programming, and now she's spending time there as a VISTA. Much of her service year so far has been devoted to supporting and strengthening the Detroit PAL Youth Voice Council, and has truly enjoyed watching the leaders grow under her supervision. She's done an incredible job with that so far. And thank you, Kira, once again for joining us. And then there's Allison Hayes. There's Allison. Allison is a 19-year-old student attending Schoolcraft College. She's studying communications and hopes to one day become a broadcast journalist columnist. Allison is involved with Detroit PAL Youth Council as a member and director of alumni engagement. Additionally, Allison was a program participant in PAL youth programs, currently works as a site monitor for baseball and softball games. Allison's advice for youth today: don't try to grow up too fast. It rushes your body, but will take a toll on your heart, mind, and soul. So she's a program participant as well at Detroit PAL, and is just enjoyed her time there as a youth and is still involved, and we're very happy that she's able to join us as well. And the next panelist that we'll have, the busiest man I know, Eric Miller, created the Lawn Academy to give back in a celebration of his mother, Dr. Dolores Miller, who is a career educator with a belief that all youth have the capacity to learn. We all learn via different methods. The Lawn Academy provides a unique approach to academic achievement and character development, utilizing the 6 C's, which he'll cover here in a little bit. Those 6 C's of positive youth development. Eric's educational background is in mechanical engineering and HR management, and we're just so happy that he was able to join us. We had a run through yesterday, and Eric, as I said, the busiest man alive, was doing doing 2 things at once. He was on this call preparing for this presentation, and then he was doing some other things as well. So I was so happy that he said yes when I asked him to participate. So thank you, Eric. All right, let's get started. Once again, Beth from Detroit Big Brothers Big Sisters, an excellent partner of ours, and just she has some really good information to share. So please take it away, Beth.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm truly honored to be here today to share, some of the things that we're doing in Detroit around engagement of youth. The first slide here, I just really, a lot of you might be familiar with Big Brothers Big Sisters, but some not. One of the things that we really have been focusing on for the past couple of years is really like, how are we serving youth, and how, how can we be a little bit more intentional and not just playing a lot of lip service to it, because in the past, we really haven't done a really great job of actually including the youth voice. It could be something as simple as, is our orientation matching youth or matching volunteers? So we've been really careful on making sure that we're actually matching youth and not volunteers. The other thing that we really wanted to explore was really making sure that we are focused on equity and how we can make sure that we are embracing the total youth. So one of the things, after really, doing some exploration about what the mission and vision means to us, we came up with the equity statement, which really includes the surrounding pieces that you see around our mission and vision, which is really to make sure that we're providing an opportunity for our youth to embrace their power, celebrate their identities, and to take ownership of their very own narratives. We want to make sure that we're providing a focus on juvenile justice prevention, academic achievement, and social emotional health with that lens of social justice. Through our work and everything that we do at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we want to make sure that we are creating meaningful connections, not just with volunteers, not with just our organization, but also with our community partners and, companies, other agencies, whoever it is. We just really want to make sure that we are, helping with those connections, and also providing opportunities for our volunteers to gain a deeper understanding of the everyday challenges that our youth face, and also making sure that they are equipped to ensuring that they can support the whole youth. And you know what, if we feel that we're interviewing a volunteer that you cannot do that, we're not going to accept you as a volunteer in our program. In terms of, Big Brothers Big Sisters, we are, we're a one-to-one mentoring organization. Right now at our agency, we are not doing group mentoring, just total one-to-one mentoring, and really focusing on those social emotional skills with all youth, of course, and then also making sure that we are ensuring that we are empowering them and making sure that we're defending their potential and really tapping into their potential, because we know that while they're under-resourced, they do have a lot of potential. We want to make sure that, we are working towards that with them. So yes, so we are here to empower, recognize, and support all of our youth. And we do serve ages 7 to 18 in 3 counties. And so again, part of this is really making sure that our volunteers are trained fully to make sure that they can fully understand our youth that we're serving today. We're more than a mentoring organization. We are really making sure that we're focusing on lots of different areas for our youth. And as I mentioned, making sure that we are putting people in their lives that can be supportive in multiple ways. One of the things that we did during the pandemic last year was that we created a Big Neighbors program. And the Big Neighbors program was made up of volunteers, mentors from our own program, outside volunteers, corporations who wanted to support our families and our youth through non-mentoring means. So everybody in our Big Neighbors program is serving in some kind of non-mentoring capacity, although some of them are, of course, mentors. So what they did that was super helpful for us last year is that, of course, we noticed that there was a huge inequity with technology. So we are able to provide 30 youth with laptops or access to technology, whether it be internet or something like that, to make sure that they can be connected. Even though our school districts were trying to provide laptops and things like that, they really weren't realizing, some of the issues that some of our families were also having with the connection issues. So we were hoping to help that, but also with clothing and some other basic needs like groceries. But then we also found out that our companies really also wanted to support with programs like tutoring. We had General Motors, they picked up 28 of our youth, and they basically tutored them every single week during the winter and spring. And we're signing them back up as well for the upcoming fall to make sure that we're supporting them, in the academic space. But also things like book clubs. We have another company that is working with our elementary students with book clubs. And we are focusing on books that are written by Black authors or have the primary characters of our people of color. So just making sure that, and making sure they also own the book. So, just really trying to make sure that, everything that we do is super intentional. And we also did something like activities, like we had Proofy, who actually is I think he's a Call of Duty professional. I learned a lot about gaming, online gaming. I never thought I would know so much, but, he really connected with a lot of our youth. And so we feel like by trying to provide more activities around things that they are interested in, then we are establishing a better relationship with them. And a lot of what we're doing, of course, is establishing relationship, because we are a relationship organization. So making sure that we're engaged with our families and our youth in multiple ways, but also, of course, making sure that we are part of their village, and making sure that they feel that they can trust us as allies, because that's, how we view ourselves. It's, we want to be trusted allies of our youth and our families. We know by becoming trusted allies with our families as well, that also helps with, making sure our youth also feel connected and are trusting of us as well. So, thinking about, how we can engage our youth effectively, of course, we had to come up with a strategy, and part of that strategy was making sure that we, looked around for best practices, looked at the Search Institute, looked at Mentor, just looked at a whole bunch of different organizations to other youth serving organizations to see what it was that they did. But also we did surveys and focus groups with our own youth. And we paid our youth for participation in the focus groups. And we do want to continue to provide financial resources for our kids who are actually participating. And, we want to make sure that they know that their time is valuable for us. One of the things that's challenging for us is that, we don't serve that 18 to 24 group. So, when you have like elementary students who, you're trying to get input from, as you know, it's sometimes like herding cats. So, sometimes those things are challenging. So we're just trying to adapt and, try to learn from other organizations or from trial and error, how to best engage who we have. Some of the things too, as part of our strategy that, we're making sure that, when we're engaged virtually, that we're using platforms that the youth use as well, that we also do what we say we're going to do. So if we tell families that this is what we're going to do with the information that they give us, that we make sure that we actually do those things, and same with the youth as well. Also, we are going to be implementing, based on those focus groups with youth, 2 clubs. We have one identified already, and that's going to be cooking. That's what they said that they wanted. So we are definitely going to follow through and figure out how we're going to do that. Right now, of course, virtually, maybe in person, depending on the culture of what's happening. So, you know, like I said, we have had some challenges because sometimes, especially with the younger kids, we've had to rely on our families also to get them to Zoom calls and things like that if we're not doing things in person. So, you know, again, we're just kind of taking it one step at a time and, you know, not just focusing on, you know, actual focus groups and surveys all the time, but also we do something called match support. So our team members are talking to youth on a monthly basis. And, you know, we're also trying to get some intel from them that way as well. I think for us, the next steps, you know, is to get our youth club schedules and still continue to host activities based on the interests of our youth, but also continue to do focus groups and things like that. And, you know, one of the things that we really wanted to do, especially in our site-based programs, which it looks like this will be another year that they're virtual, but we did want to have some of the youth that are participating in those programs, especially at the high school level, facilitate some of the programs. So we're going to be looking to try to do that in the spring of this year. And, you know, see how that goes as well. But we also want to make sure that we are also helping our youth make sure they can advocate for themselves. So that will also be a part of our curriculum and activities that we have during the school year as well. So again, you know, I guess the main thing I would say is that, you know, you just have to continue to listen, continue to build relationships and adapt and be flexible. You know, it's going to be hard, I think, for some of us to figure out what works best for our programs and who we serve, but it's definitely worth the efforts. You know, we have seen a lot, our engagement go up since, you know, we've started to be more intentional around it. Yeah.
Great. Hey, Beth, thank you so much. And if you don't mind, and I think about this, I've heard of this, I think that's the dream scenario, just from an engagement standpoint, if you do have the resources to get youth involved. I know a lot of times as an adult, we're compensated for attending different meetings. Can you share, I know you're in the infancy stages of this, paying youth to participate, to be on these panels. Can you just talk a little bit more about that and how that idea was created, and then I guess how it came to fruition that you're actually doing it, and what the future will hold? Because I would assume that there's quite a few individuals on the call that would have interest in doing something comparable to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a discussion that we've had for a long time, but, you know, we have, as an organization, provide incentives for people to show up to training and things like that. So I don't really feel like it's any different. And if we would like our young people to show up, I think sometimes to show that we're serious, we're like, we're willing to pay you. We really want your input. And I'm not saying that, you know, we're, you know, as a not-for-profit, we're definitely not, you know, spending $100 an hour for that. But, you know, one of the things that I've been trying to do is write it into grants. And also, you know, anything that they do, you know, we would like to try to, aside from maybe activities, but we'd like to try to pay them for, and also getting some of our corporate partners to support some of that. We do have, like I said, like that Big Neighbors program. And so this is a way to also say, hey, we'd like some gift certificates, because that's the easiest thing instead of just giving cash, but we will, you know, give them like a $25 gift certificate to something of their choice, because we do ask them where they would like a gift card to. And then we can also ask our, you know, our big neighbors if anybody would like to donate to that. So if you don't have a big budget, that's a space where you can do it. Like I said, I do try to, since it's for youth, I do try to see if I can bill it to grants, but like I said, I'm writing that into grants now. As a matter of fact, I'd like to try to do a peer-to-peer mentoring where I have high school students mentoring middle school or elementary students. And I would like to pay the high schoolers to be mentors in the program. So I'm looking to, get that as a grant as well. So, it's an incentive for them to show up as well, but I think you have to be creative, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said that throughout the pandemic, that the youth engagement has been strong for Detroit Big Brother.
Yes. I guess I would say, because you're frozen, so hopefully I'm not the one who's frozen. Fine now. Was I frozen?
Am I back now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I think I was for a moment. I think you were too. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you saw the engagement level during the pandemic, probably an existing relationship strengthen. Are there any tips, any things that you notice maybe for a new relationship to get that engagement going when there perhaps wasn't that in-person meeting?
Yeah, it has been hard in the virtual space. I mean, we did immediately switch everything to virtual. And one of the things that we decided to as an organization to make sure that we're providing virtual activities, which you could also do in person, to all of our mentor-mentee matches. So regardless, I mean, traditionally, they have been just shared at our site programs. We do facilitated sites at our agency only. And so, we would, facilitate and lead those activities. But so what we did was we created a whole platform. A lot of them, are through that social justice lens as well. And then just provided, we had 75 activities in the first batch that went out. And then our goal is to update that every 6 months. So we're a little bit behind schedule with getting the new activities out. But, we hope that has helped some because people don't always like the virtual space, but really just making sure that we are engaging, like I said, online. We also implemented a parent orientation that's actually virtual. At our agency, we've been doing orientations when we meet with the families in person and spending time doing it that way. To make sure that they get all the information, but we've also switched to doing that virtual just so they can also come together and get some support, from each other as well. So, I mean, it's just really been, trial and error and just trying to make sure that we're providing people with options because people have a challenge, I think, of trying to create their own thing. So sometimes they just want to be told what they, here's something you can do, you don't have to think about it. So that's kind of what we're doing. And again, this is an opportunity for us. We have been able to engage with people that we really haven't engaged before. This guy Proofy, that was actually through a national something that was happening. I'm sorry, I cannot remember exactly, but he's actually from Detroit. So that, that made it very interesting for our young people and they could come and ask him, a bunch of questions. And then we're going to schedule a time where he can play some video games with them, not Call of Duty, but, something a little bit more youth friendly, but, and that's not something that we normally would have thought about doing in the past. And I mean, it's just a really great opportunity, like I said, to engage with people that we haven't been engaged with before. And I would be happy to share our activities. I think I saw in the chat pop up that someone's interested. So I can share those with you guys, David and Minnie. And if you want to share that, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Beth. Yeah. And all of our contact information will be in one of the latter slides as well. So, and that throughout this, we keep talking about how pressed for time and how quickly the summer has gone by. And I know this is going by quickly too. So just if there's any information that you want beyond what the panelists are discussing, you'll have contact information. So thank you so much, Beth. I'm very appreciative just you spending the time, spending your knowledge. Yeah, thank you. All right, next up, Detroit PAL, a good partner of ours and just a wonderful organization committed to just helping youth find their greatness. In partnership with the Detroit Police Department and community volunteers, Detroit PAL is helping youth find their greatness through athletic, academic, and leadership development programs. So we have Kira on, who I introduced earlier. And thank you so much, Kira, for being on. We're very appreciative that you're able to take some time to spend some of your knowledge with this nationwide audience on mentoring. So yeah, go right ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kira, and I am joined today by the wonderful Allison. She's in our Youth Voice Council, and today we're just going to give you a little deep dive into the Youth Voice Council and the youth voice that we work on at Detroit PAL. So the Detroit PAL Youth Voice Council was created in 2017, spearheaded by Dana Cooper and Officer Marcus Norwood. Until this day, Officer Norwood is still on staff with the Youth Voice Council. And so with the pandemic, the Youth Voice Council took a little break. And so at the beginning of 2021, we wanted to just rebrand and kind of figure out who is the Youth Voice Council now. They really didn't do too much prior to 2021. And so we definitely wanted to tackle this new year a little bit stronger with a little bit more foundation and things to do that really represented what our youth today want to do, what they want to speak about, and the things that they want to change in the community. And so they have, we can jump to the next slide. So they created this new mission statement, which I think is powerful, and it speaks to every single youth that we have in just the PAL program, and especially in the Youth Voice Council. And it states that the Youth Voice Council mission statement is to project and amplify the voices of Detroit youth to be an elite force in every room. And the purpose of the Youth Voice Council is for our members to represent the youth athlete population at Detroit PAL. And they will use their voice to engage and encourage PAL kids and PAL families. And so they use their voice in tons of different ways that Allison is going to tell you about.
So not only do we do events and meetings, we haven't really had one of our own events created so far, just because of the fact that everybody has a lot going on. But with meetings and stuff of that sort, we've been doing any networking events that we can attend to, especially if they're connected to PAL. We try to get ourselves involved with literally any engagement event for the youth, especially if it is associated with Detroit PAL. We try to make sure that through the meetings, we get a lot of things done, or we plan ahead for the things that we want to do and get everybody, even if it's something like what we do in our meetings, we do like a general discussion. Even if it's something like that, with a crazy question like, do you prefer socks with sandals or socks with no sandals? Something like that, just to get someone's mind refreshed as to going on to the next day or feeling better for what's coming up next when it has to come to respect for the world. We try to make I'm sorry, I didn't hear myself for a second, but we try to make sure that not only do we prepare the youth for school and stuff of that sort, but we prepare them for jobs, and we make sure they're preparing themselves for, like, if they have to present a resume to someone. So we just did that in our other meeting not too long ago. I think that was literally yesterday, actually. But as far as it goes, we try to make sure in meetings and events that we prove not only is the youth more present than people know, but we try to prove that we're smarter than people know as well.
So a lot of you may be thinking, if you don't have a Youth Voice Council in your organization, where do I start? Where can I, how do I even begin thinking about what a Youth Voice Council would look like? And so these are a couple of tips that Allison and I came up with that were really crucial in our Youth Voice Council. And so the first one is to specify the purpose of the Youth Voice Council. And so there are tons of different purposes that the Youth Voice Council can do. You can have a Youth Voice Council that solely just has like general discussions, and maybe they talk about that with different partners or at different events that that the organizations may have, just for like conversation starters. You can have a Youth Voice Council that does volunteer work solely to help the youth, have community service hours and on top of being a part of your organization. And so at Detroit Power, our Youth Voice Council does a little bit of everything. We have those general discussions, we have the professional development meetings, we have the volunteer events, but we just wanted it to capture all of the different personalities that we have in our Youth Voice Council members. I mean, like Allison she is incredible, and she loves journalism. She works at PAL as one of the site monitors, so her thing is sports. We have some other young women on the Youth Voice Council who's interested in just volunteering all the time. Another one of our young ladies likes to do gardening. We have our executive director. He's interested in filmmaking and making like critical thinking videos on YouTube. So they're all over the place, but we wanted to capture all of that and trying to figure out, okay, so what's one of our kids' expertise and how can they share that with the rest of the group? And just learning from each other. And then also the staff gets to learn a lot more about our kids and what they are actually interested in and how they want to take those talents and passions and bring that to Detroit Power.
The second one would be preparing to dedicate your time and abilities to the group. A lot of people, especially when it comes to those that are over us, adults, they like to start youth groups, but they start it to make themselves look good and not to purposefully make sure the youth look good. When in reality, the whole point of the youth council is to make sure the youth have a voice. So if you're going to do it, you have to make sure not only to prepare to dedicate literally everything you have, but to make sure that if you're not going to do it, you have to be okay with putting it on the forefront and giving it to someone else, or at least making it look like you know what you're doing. Because of the fact that a lot of the youth are looking up to those that are older than us. Everybody is looking up to those that are older than us, or that we learn from, people that we get our advice from. And if we don't learn from them, we're going to learn from people our age, and people our age don't really know much. They don't know much more than what we know. So it'd be way better to learn from someone that is older, especially knowing that they've experienced way more. And if a person is not willing to dedicate their time or abilities to the group, then it might as well not have been started. It's extremely imperative to not only give yourself to the group, but make sure that other people are giving themselves. And if you give yourself to the group, it opens up a door to let people know not only are you comfortable with being a part of the group, but you're comfortable with these people here to the point where you can start a relationship. And it doesn't just have to be business, but it can also be business with fun in the back.
And then lastly, it's utilizing social media for ideas and promotion. And so something that POW did really well during the pandemic and in this post-pandemic world is meeting our youth where they're at. And so with the pandemic, everyone's at home and all of our kids are on social media. And so our social media team does a really good job with putting out all the info, like on Instagram, on Facebook. And so Instagram, obviously our teens use that a little bit more. Our parents use Facebook, but then also meeting them on TikTok, doing TikTok dances, trying to get the information out there like that. And so by covering all of our bases, we were able to make sure not only do the parents have, that specific information, the time, the place, how much this event may cost, but we have the youth's attention too, as far as like, oh, okay, this program actually sounds kind of fun. This is what I could do. And it's appealing to me. It's not just, a paragraph and maybe a flyer, but it has a little bit of dance component behind it to make the information seem a little bit more entertaining to them. And so the Youth Voice Council has used that as well. With their Instagram page, they have a YouTube channel, they are thinking about creating a podcast. And so they're just using all of these different types of social media and communication platforms to reach all of the audiences of the youth today. And I think that that's something that they've done really well.
Wow. Thank you, ladies. Yeah. I think you have to finish up on that, but that was tremendous. And if you could as well, just talk when you're done with that. I mentioned in the intro at the very beginning, just how you were involved in Detroit PAL youth programming, and now you've come back. And obviously it says a lot about Detroit PAL. It says a lot about you as well, but were there specific mentors that you had there that perhaps, you just knew that cared about you and took your voice seriously, and that's what brought you back? So I jumped in before this last slide. My apologies on that, but you're doing a tremendous job, and thank you.
Yeah, and I can answer that question. So for me, I was a PAL kid. I did cheer for about 5 years until I aged out of the program. And so my cheer coaches, so originally coming into cheer, I was very shy. I didn't say anything, and I wasn't a kid to get in trouble. And cheer was the only place where I got in trouble because I didn't use my voice and I wasn't that loud. And they would always say, "Kira, I can't hear you. I can't hear you." And that's the only time that I ever got in trouble. And that was different for me, just because I never got in trouble. They tell you not to talk in class. They tell you not to be too loud in school. And now I'm in this environment where it's like, I'm supposed to be louder. I'm supposed to use my voice. And my coaches really worked with me because it wasn't about, afraid of being in trouble. Like, okay, I know I'm not supposed to be loud in school, so I think I'm not supposed to be loud in cheer. It was more so of a confidence thing that I didn't have, just as far as, okay, I can use my voice, but is it going to be loud enough? And so my coaches worked with me throughout my whole cheer experience until I aged out, to make sure that whenever I open my mouth or whenever I say something, I'm saying it with confidence, and I'm saying it with the belief that I know that what I'm going to say is going to shake the room. And that's something that has always stuck with me. And like those coaches that I had when I was from the ages of 9 to 14, I see them today. I saw them just a couple of weeks ago, and they're still very present in my life. They're friends with my mom. So that's just a relationship that I'll always have with them. They'll always be family. I call them my aunts. So I think that just speaks to just the importance of mentorship and influential figures in your life, and how they will always stick with you if you are open to that relationship and that criticism as well.
Great. Yeah. If Allison, I would assume it's probably comparable with you. And if you could just go through this last slide. And I know, as I said earlier, I was clicking by, you two are doing a fabulous job. Yeah, Allison, if you could just wrap this up, and then we'll just mention if you can, if something was comparable to Kira, because I think that's a great story.
Yeah, I definitely can. So for the last slide, tips, or actually let's touch on what Kira said first. So my story is, I was also a PAL kid, because I'm 19, about to be 20 soon. I was also a PAL kid for a really, really long time. I started running track when I was about 7, and after that, there were complications with as to why I had to stop. But of course, with any program where it's a lot of kids, there's gonna be arguing, and sometimes the kids don't like the kids, and blah 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 blah. But the main thing that stuck out to me for anything that ever happened with PAL is, no matter how many times we argued, no matter how many times we were mad at each other, or somebody didn't like something the other said, everybody always got back together as family. Or the mentors, the coaches of the group made them get back together and say, this is a family. We don't argue. We don't do any of that messy stuff. And if you're going to be mad outside of the group. if you're going to stay mad, be mad outside of practice. But when you come here, you hug and kiss and make up like y'all love each other and like y'all have no problems with each other whatsoever. And they still do that to this day. The track teams, basketball teams, football teams, any of them, they all associate like family, especially even cheer, like Kira said, all of them, they all just really let you know that not only are, when it comes to youth, that everybody cares about one another's feelings, but they like to make it present to the point where, you know, it's okay to express yourself and it's okay to be yourself without being angry at everybody. So that was one of the things I took away from it. But to wrap up, tips for youth engagement on this last side would be number one, be relatable and be youthful. And by youthful, that also just literally just means be relatable. Nobody wants to talk to an adult that they feel like has nothing in common with them. And by that I mean, I'm sure all of us or all of you guys when you were younger, if you ever talked to someone that was older than you, it was never any good case unless they were able to laugh with you or joke with you enough to the point where it wasn't, oh, I'm your best friend, but I know how to joke and be serious as well. You don't want to talk to somebody that's just serious. Not only is that no fun, but it will let you think that, especially if they are joking, you don't know when they're joking, you don't know what they're saying, you don't know how to go about approaching them because they don't seem like an approachable person. So with being relatable and youthful, you want to be approachable, smile more if you have to, even if you don't want to smile, at least make everybody feel like they're able to be comfortable with you. Second one is allow opportunities for skills and leadership growth. Just make sure everybody knows, especially if you start your own youth voice council or in any nonprofit youth group, whatever it is, that they know they're able to share their talents or opportunities, and not only will we accept them, but we will help them better them and grow so that they'll perfect them. And leadership will come on its own, especially if you teach them up the right way. Leadership is natural born sometimes, but sometimes people have to learn it. So as long as they watch the right leader, they'll definitely become. If you want to be a good leader, you have to follow somebody. So that's what that comes in with. Third one will be determine short and long-term goals for accountability. That's pretty self-explanatory. Make sure that any of the goals that are short-term are exactly what we say short-term. Short-term would be within the next few months, maybe next few weeks. Long-term would be within the next 2 to 5 years. And if you're going to do these things, make sure they're solidified and that you actually plan on doing them. Because if you continue to make goals, but actually have no way of reaching the goals or no plans, then not only do you lose your accountability, but you could possibly lose yourself because you're continuously making plans, but not putting any effort in toward achieving them. Lastly, create a space for open communication and transparency. Make sure the youth feel comfortable enough to talk to you so that, like I said, no one wants to talk to someone that's serious to the point where we don't know how to approach and we don't know how to talk to each other. That's no fun. And the youth wants to know that not only do we have somebody to talk to and somebody to relate to, but we have a space where I'm comfortable enough to say, I need help with it. And if I'm not comfortable enough to ask for help, then I'm going to be in a lot of trouble along the way.
Great. Thank you so much, ladies. That was wonderful. And I wish we did have more time, but you did a fantastic job. And once again, I'm appreciative for you being here. And yeah, thank you. Great transition into, as I mentioned earlier, busiest man alive, Mr. Eric Miller. So take it away, Eric, and thank you as well for being on. I appreciate it.
Okay, so David, how you doing? First of all, great to be able to speak to everyone today, or speak with everyone today. I'm representing the Lawn Academy. And the Lawn Academy, our mission is to provide leadership training and mentoring to youth through a college immersion program and community service projects. The youth provide free lawn care services also for the elderly, veterans, and those that are disabled at no charge. So I kind of wanted to show this picture so you can kind of see, because when people mention thinking about the Lawn Academy, from a visualization standpoint, they're thinking something that is not. First of all, this is what the Lawn Academy looks like. Let's say pre-COVID. This is a pre-COVID pictures, right? So you have a situation whereby you have college youth in the college classrooms. You have Wayne County Community College District. Those are actual professors teaching youth starting at the age of 11, right? Because we want to put youth in the college classroom at age 11 or, around that age, so that just to start that early immersion process and that thinking process to say, you know what, this right here, I can do this, right? So that's what that's about when it comes to our the college piece. We have college students that come around and they're there helping the youth throughout this transitional process. Okay. At the bottom, we have an after-school program whereby we work with youth with math, reading literacy, science, English, things of those natures, of that nature. And also, we're outside taking care of seniors, veterans, people with disabilities. And that is an awesome responsibility, but also it's an awesome opportunity to help the character development of youth. Next slide. So we talked about tips for youth engagement, and I really love all the speakers earlier because, spot on, but we can all approach things from different angles, right? So we all get to goalpost by taking different approaches, okay? But there is a common thing, and the common thing that I heard even with the other presenters was, making sure that the youth are involved with the generation, with the idea generation piece. So everything that we do purposefully. And we're going to show a real example a little bit later as far as how these all things kind of tie together. But first of all, youth collaboration and idea generation, we make sure that the youth are involved with the beginning of the project, from the formation of it and the idealization of that project. And then what we found out was that creates a sense of ownership and also a sense of purpose, because youth start saying, wow, okay, not only do I understand how to do this, but I understand the why. I understand the why. So when I'm out here, it's not that I'm just doing something, but I understand why I'm doing it and why it's important. And that's key. And also we involve youth with a collaborative roadmap, with the creation of their futures, to say, you know what, okay, I was a part of this project and a part of this thing right here. Wow, I saw some possibilities about myself that I never knew existed before. So what are those things that are innately about me that I need to continue to develop, right? So we help to youth to establish what that leadership structure and their abilities could, what the possibilities are. Then we set milestones with them. Then once you do that, you have to start. Once you get ready to do a project or whatever, you have to start it. And the main thing I've learned is that your best voice about documenting a project and also getting the buy-in from other youth about the project is letting the youth document the process. It was a series I was on with Micro, right? He had multiple cameras following us while we were talking. And then he made a statement about those cameras. He said, the reason why I have like 2 to 3 cameras when I'm walking is that it allows people to see things from different perspectives, but also lets people know that, you know what, this is real. So, because you're catching it from all different angles. So, you know, it shows that the realistic viewpoint of what's actually occurring. So what I found out is that by giving the youth the cameras and letting them have the voice, and they're documenting this, first of all, they're seeing what they helped to create in front of that lens come to life right in front of them. It's coming to life right in front of them. And they're documenting those moments. So most of the pictures you see with the Lawn Academy are taken by youth of the Lawn Academy. And it's quite awesome. Then also, they're proud of knowing and sharing that success story because they documented it and they can tell their story better than they're the best voice when it comes to validating, hey, what occurred is what's happening is real, and you know, they believe in it. So also we believe in whatever we do, we sit back, we reflect, and we celebrate. We don't celebrate too long because there's more to be done. So we also have youth forums at the end, whereby we allow youth an opportunity to imagine greater possibilities. Hey, I think Allison just mentioned that, Miss Allison. Hey, you set a realistic milestone, goals, short-term, long-term goals, but you set them. But once you accomplish that, celebrate it. But then it gives you that confidence to go to that next level. So that's what we see. Next slide. So this is a real situation that's happening today. I got an opportunity. First of all, we take care of hundreds of seniors, veterans, people throughout the city of Detroit. We have just several youth. About 40% of all our youth are female. I think that's pretty awesome. And the thing that I saw that was troubling to me is that, those that know the Detroit area or know the surrounding suburbs and things of that nature, I got an opportunity to drive. I was just driving. We're 9 years into Detroit. We've lived in 8 different cities. Detroit is number 8. And but one thing that I saw that was just a startling difference. I drove by a school by the name of Birmingham High School, Birmingham Groves. And first of all, I must say, whomever the crew is that does the lawn, they do a beautiful job. I got to give it to them. I love it. I think they do a wonderful job. But the first thing I thought about was, if I'm a youth and I'm walking up to that school, I'm saying, wow, things are positive before I get to the classroom. Someone took the time to prepare my campus so that I have a very nice experience walking up to school. The flowers are blooming. The atmosphere is set for positivity. So when I get into the college, let me tell you, when I get to the classroom, I can go there knowing that, wow, I'm supported and it's a great environment. I went to a couple of schools around Detroit, and I'm saying, what in the world? So if now I'm a student and I'm walking up to that school and I'm saying, wow, what is this? From a visualization standpoint, what is this saying to me about the experience and the positivity I need to have when walking up to school to have a great learning experience? So I said, listen, Eric, let's flip this thing around. Let's turn it around. So we have several youth that go to several schools throughout the city of Detroit, several schools. But we took Osborne, worked with Dr. Lewis, the principal. She is awesome. She is a great leader. And we say, you know what? We have some youth that go to Osborne. We selected the youth and they transformed that campus. If you guys drive by Osborne High School, 7 Mile in Detroit, Michigan, they transform that campus. So this is what it does. And so when people see the Lawn Academy, the first thing they're thinking is, okay, is youth doing lawns, boom, boom, that's great, that's wonderful. No, it's a deeper meaning. And let's go to the next slide so I can show you what that deeper meaning means. We always try to link youth engagement to our mission and to the endpoint. Because one thing I believe in is that if you're going to do something, do it, and do it at the highest level possible, and try to make the biggest impact with whatever you're going to do. Once I tell people, or just stay home and eat Cheerios, right? And Cheerios are great, but just stay home and do that, right? But if you're going to do something, do it, and do it at the highest level. So let's think about the whole thing with Osborne, right? Everything that the Lawn Academy does is based on the 6 C's of positive youth development. The first C is competency. So when we see the youth doing what they're doing at Osborne, behind the scenes, guess what the youth were involved in? We had financial literacy classes, and we had math tutoring going on by General Motors with their engineers, and we had financial literacy classes going on through JVS Human Services, right? So we're teaching youth the competency piece. And then also part of that with the Osborne piece, it's about confidence. So we had, if you look at Osborne, it's one of the most beautifully designed campuses as far as an architectural standpoint, whereby in the middle of all the classrooms, you have a green space. And that green space was not appealing at first. Those youth transformed that whole green space so that when you're in your classroom, you actually look out into the green space. So it's incumbent upon us to make sure that the green space is absolutely beautiful. And guess what? Right now, it is absolutely beautiful. So by doing that, by transforming that green space, the youth were able to see, wow, this is what it was, and this is what it is now. So now they're building up their confidence to do even greater things. So that's the confidence piece, connection. One of the greatest voices, and once again, I heard Ms. Allison and others speak, the greatest voice is the youth voice. So we have several youth now that have gone through the Lawn Academy, and now they're in college, they're taking trades, they're doing a lot of different things. And guess what? Through America Vista, in Michigan Community Service Commission, we are able to bring those youth back in the summertime as Vista leaders for the program. That's that connection that we have. And they're helping to lead the way by being supervisors. And that's just awesome. That's awesome. And also the youth are connecting with the Vista leaders, their peers, and also, like I said, the GM engineers. It's pretty cool what's going on at Osborne. The next thing is about character development. It got hot out there some days, things of that nature. But guess what? It's about perseverance. The youth were able to persevere through some of the rain, and all this other stuff that's going on to transform that campus. Then the other thing is about compassion. So they were able to get that support from their peers to make it through some of those financial literacy courses that they were taking, things of that nature. So that was a pretty cool thing. And then the last C is about being able to be a contributor to yourself, to your families, and to society. So it's just a greater lesson in life. So something as simple as what we see visually of transforming a campus, we put those other elements in there, dealing with the 6 C's, right, of positive youth development, and you encapsulate all of that within what was going on at Osborne, and wow, it's pretty awesome. So that's what I had to speak about today, and I'm just great that the students there have created an environment that's inviting for those that's going to be coming on campus in these next upcoming weeks, to let the youth know that we love them, we care about you, and we care about you enough to make sure that campus, that we took the time to prepare a campus for you to be a positive learning and to have a positive learning experience. So that's what I had, Sir David. And then, thank you.
Wonderful, Eric. And I know many time-wise, we probably should get into question and answers, but I know Eric, just real quickly, Eric just opened another facility not that long ago that's totally youth-centered. Eric, can you just quickly share with everybody about that? Just because that's fantastic as well.
Oh yeah, yes, we just purchased.
I know you won't be able to give it enough time to justify it, but
right.
Yeah.
Real quick, yeah. So real quick, so we just opened up a new facility, and what we're looking at doing is with that facility, within 3 years, we're talking about youth voice. I want that facility and I want that surrounding area to be actually run by the youth that's gone through the program. So what we're creating is a big idea, but we're going to go for it. Then 3 years, that facility is going to be run by some of our youth. When I say run, I mean the whole P&L. Most people learn profit, they learn loss, but most people are not responsible. They can go a whole year, a whole career without being responsible for profit and loss. That's what those youth are going to be responsible for. We're going to start them off. We're looking to start them off at $45,000 per year. We're going to give them a 2-year assignment to transform that area, and also to lead other youth. And then, because within 2 years, with P&L type of responsibilities, you can write your own ticket for a job. So we need you to move on and do some great things and make you room for the next cohort of youth that's going to take those positions. So that's what we're looking to build in Detroit. It's going to be awesome. We're looking for some partners that's going to help us to make that a reality. It will be a reality, as I just said it. It's going to be a reality. It's going to happen within 3 years. So that's all I have to say. I'm going to keep it short. So David, thanks for this opportunity to talk to everyone.
Thank you, Eric.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Great job. And I know it will come to fruition, and yeah, with you at the helm, fantastic things are going to happen. So thank you, everybody. This right here, there are some resources here, resources that we came up with that you may find helpful. So you will receive the slides. We thought actually had a few individuals going through to pick out some of this powerful information. So yeah. And then just contact our panelists. All our contact information is there. If you want to reach out to anybody, if there was information that, and I said this at the very beginning, this went by so quickly, and we still weren't able to touch all the bases, but there's contact information if you want to reach out to any of the panelists or myself. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, David, and to all of our panelists. Before we transition to Q&A, so feel free if you all still have questions for our panelists and just want to hear more and talk with us, please stay on and type those questions in the questions box. But before we transition, I just want to share some resources, and then we'll kind of have time for Q&A for the rest of the next 20 minutes. Again, feel free to reach out to your local affiliate. Mentor has a network of 25 affiliates across the country who really serve as a clearinghouse for training and resources and public awareness and advocacy. So David is our affiliate leader over in Michigan, but definitely see if you have one in your region. They're a great resource to learn more about mentoring opportunities. Recruit mentors by submitting your program to the Mentoring Connector, which is a national database that folks can search and utilize to find a mentor or become a mentor, as well as checking out the OJJDP National Mentoring Resource Center to access more evidence-based mentoring resources, as well as the ability to apply for no-cost training and technical assistance. So definitely recommend checking out some of these other resources along with the slide deck that we will have those lists of resources that David mentioned. Again, after this webinar, we have a survey, so please help us out by answering that. And you will all receive kind of this email, the recordings, as well as those resources via email, as well as being on the CMWS webpage. Stay connected with us. It's kind of how you can reach us and also view past webinars on our website. And now I want to transition back to a Q&A. So kind of what questions do folks have for our panelists, just based on everything you've all already heard? I know I did see one to just kick it off earlier in the chat. I think this is when during Beth's presentation, and I don't know if anyone else on the panel want to speak to this, but kind of how do smaller organizations that don't have a large budget or any budget at all kind of offer stipends or just compensation to youth in terms of being able to engage them and kind of honor like the work that they're doing. There's also a question related to kind of how much is the stipend for kind of ongoing involvement. So Beth, you want to speak to that, or if anyone else has any other tips or suggestions for those who might have smaller budgets?
I'll go ahead and start. I feel like this is also a work in progress for us as well, but initially what we've been doing is giving $20 to $25 gift cards, depending on how long the focus group is, for example. My goal when I write, for the grants, I've been putting in about $13 an hour if, if we can pay them to be mentors, the high school students to be mentors to elementary and middle. That's kind of what I've been focusing on. I was really trying for 15, but it sounded like a lot of other organizations and conversations were kind of thinking 13. So I didn't want to price myself out so I wouldn't get funded for it. But that's kind of what we've been looking at. I mean, kind of like based on what we feel, is the movement for the minimum wage. So it also might just depend on, what it looks like in your area. But I think between $13 to $15 an hour in that respect. And then we're doing, like I said, $20, $25 gift cards for focus groups.
Great. Thank you, Beth. And does anyone else kind of have any just tips or suggestions for ways that an organization that might have a smaller budget, how can they kind of really engage young people and helping, wanting to, respect and honor their time as well, but not necessarily have the funds to do.
Right. One thing that we would do, I know early on with the small budget was we, let's say on Saturdays when youth were out and about doing a lot of things, we would offer what was called an encouragement stipend. Encouragement stipend could be $20 per youth, $25 per youth, to just say, listen, thank you. Just thanks for coming out. I know your parents have to pay for gas coming out this way, things of that nature. So just a small token for encouragement.
Thank you, Eric. I think this question was directed to Kira and Allison. Kind of what are some projects that you all work on as council leaders and members?
So something that has been kind of prominent throughout our meetings so far has been the professional development meetings. And it's just kind of like an ongoing series that we've been doing. So Allison kind of mentioned it yesterday. We did resumes. And so the youth brought in their resumes and we had example resumes from the POW staff. And we just talked about how to construct a resume, how sometimes resumes can change based on format, depending on what you're submitting it for. I'm just kind of giving them all of that background information because a lot of our youth are between the ages of about 13 to 19. So they're getting ready to prepare for that first job or maybe that second job or even going off to like school and things like that. And sometimes you have to have that resume for that. So we focused on that. Last week, we did a general discussion and we talked about perspectives and we talked about how the way that you view people and different relationships that you have in your life. What do you expect out of those people? What does a good relationship look like out of that? And what are you doing to contribute to that? So all the things that you expect from somebody else, are you doing those same things? And then we just kind of like switch back and forth. And so with the professional development, it's a little bit more physical things having to do with work and college and school life development. And the general discussions are just things that our youth want to talk about. And that kind of just reels them in like, okay, I love talking about this stuff with all these group of people who don't always agree with me either. And so that's when we really get to see that passion come out of them because they talk for a long time. We go overtime all the time. And so I think that that's something that's been really cool, doing that discussion, switch off with the professional development meetings.
Great, thank you so much, Kira. I know we had a question in the Q&A box that I saw from Jesse, just kind of asking if you all had partnered with Neutral Zone in Ann Arbor and their youth-driven spaces work, since they are, you all are located in Michigan. So definitely make note of that. What other questions do folks have just for our panel?
I just wanted to say real quickly that Neutral Zone, I've heard some incredibly good things about them, but we've never been directly involved with them, but I certainly would love to have a partnership with them. Like I said, I've heard some great things about them.
Great, so I'm not seeing too many questions come in, but I guess kind of would love, just to hear as we wrap up from all the panelists, kind of if there's just one kind of large takeaway in terms of engaging youth in mentoring programs, kind of what is your kind of one piece of advice? Feel free to just kind of reiterate anything that you've already said, but just kind of your main takeaway and what you want folks to, I guess, learn.
I guess I'll go first for that. I think the main thing would be, regardless of any situation, comfortability. If the youth is not comfortable, they're not going to want to do anything. They're not going to want to participate. If you don't make them feel like, even if it's something like community service hours or $1, they're not going to feel like they can like participate if you're not also giving them something to take away from it, even if it's some really good advice that you know they're going to need for the next day, something that you want to resonate with them for the next few months. Just make sure not only is it a comfortability thing, but also that you give them and offer them something that they're willing to take away from the conversation or situation, no matter what it is.
Thanks, Allison. Anyone else have kind of last takeaways, advice?
Yes, first of all, I love what Allison and Miss Allison and Miss Kira stated, and that was letting the youth have a voice. And that's whether that's no matter what that organization may be. And it's one thing I do know is that people knowing their voice is being heard, because it normally transforms to an action. So I would be very keen in making sure that, and I am, to make sure that if I say that I'm listening to the youth, to make sure that it becomes something that's that they can see down the road, to say, wow, they took my idea and they actually made it made it a reality. So that'd be my takeaway.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with what everyone has said, as well, as that actions do speak louder than words. And, we just really need to make sure that, as we are, putting others into the life of the youth that we're working with, is that they also have to be people who also will listen and also make sure that they're sharing the power with the youth that they're serving.
And I would just quickly add that just how important transparency is. Seeing that from our end, from Detroit PAL, the PAL staff comes from many different backgrounds, but a lot of the things that our youth want to do, we don't have experience in. And so just being honest about that, hey, I don't have all the answers, but I know someone who does. And introducing them to people that who are specialists, or maybe they are some people whose names have a little weight, and just giving them the opportunity to network with them, because you never know what kind of doors that will open, and just trusting them that that all the skills that you all have been building over this time, that you will build, will show up when they're communicating with those figures that you introduced them to, and just trusting in that relationship.
Great. Thank you all so much. Thank you, David, Kira, Allison, Beth, and Eric. I think we're going to close out, and thank you all so much for your time today. We appreciate you spending this afternoon with us, and please join us next month for our next webinar. We focus on beyond DEI statements, creating a culture of inclusion and belonging in mentoring organizations. So it'll be taking place on Wednesday, September 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. And note that this webinar will take place on a Wednesday, so a little bit different from our usual time. But thank you all so much for joining us, and